We talk
you.
about people in the Kansas City film industry, and you are one of the people on the show that I have not met, I don't believe.
Not in person, no, but nice to meet you finally. Thanks for having me.
Hey, nice to meet you. What tell us about yourself and your involvement in the Kansas City film industry?
Okay, well, I went to film school in 2009. I graduated in 2012, so that was kind of my introduction into everything. I signed with my first agency in 2010 with Hoffman International, and I've just been doing it ever since. And I actually, when I started or after I graduated from film school, I started working on staff at Hoffman. So I worked behind the scenes in the industry for a little while, um, and kind of cool to see all the ins and outs. But you definitely see all of the unpleasant things as well. Just a lot of, it's just a lot of deadlines, a lot of stress. But it honestly it helps as an actor to have worked in that capacity as well. Um, I started getting back into the film industry, after I worked for Hoffman for about a decade, I would say maybe like 5 years into working there. I mean, I was signed on as talent, obviously, but it was um, it was like a full time job, and so I chose to focus on that, and then I kind of stepped away from acting for a little bit, kind of doing some odd jobs here and there. I worked with Hallmark and some other big name commercial jobs, but as far as film goes, I kind of took a step back, but got back into it, before leaving Hoffman, and well, actually Hoffman kind of dissolved, I guess, for lack of a better word. The president and owner, Kim Hoffman, she decided to retire the business, and so now I'm signed with Voices and
You're signed with who?
um,
I'm sorry.
yeah, I don't know what else do you want to
Oh,
know.
well, where did you go to
Voices
film
and
school? Sorry, I think we
so
must
I
have a
went to
delay.
the
I think we have a delayed
oh,
connection, so we
okay.
keep talking on each other a little bit. Tell me about where you went to film school and tell me more about Hoffman because I've heard of it, but I cannot think of what it is.
Full service model and talent agency, and for a while focused a lot on editorial modeling and runway modeling. But as the years went on and the industry changed in the Kansas City area, it became a full service agency with voiceover and acting, commercial and film and everything like that. So, and I went to film school at the Art Institutes International, Kansas City. I graduated in 2012, and so I do have my degree, my Bachelor of Arts degree in digital filmmaking and video production as well.
Wow, well, that's interesting.
So where that comes into play, I guess a good segue for that is that I did make my own feature film, Finding Joy, which we started the writing process like over 5 years ago, and we did a whole crowdfunding campaign, and it was successful, which was great. Um, and that started in, I would say, 2021 was when we launched the big campaign, and then we shot in 2022 and 2023, and then we were in post, and now we had some screenings last year, just some premiere screenings, and now we're in the festival run. So we showed at the Branson International Film Festival a couple weekends ago, and we have a couple upcoming. We're actually screening overseas in Serbia next month, and also in Kansas City at the Universal Film Fest at the end of September. So if you would like to come check us out, come and see the film.
That's fantastic. And I'll tell you, I have seen your post on Finding Joy, even though we haven't ever met. A lot of the post on the Actors and Filmmakers Kansas City, which I'm going to have the person who started that on the show probably in season 3,
Oh,
Damian
cool.
Lee. So yeah, he's the one who started that. And so because of that site, and I'm sure you've met people just like me, I have met literally hundreds and hundreds of people in Kansas City doing acting and filmmaking and writing and et cetera. And I've seen your film Finding Joy. And did you write the movie as well?
I did. So I wrote, directed, produced, and I also star in it. But that's it's not a one woman show. Definitely had a ton of help, a ton of great artists who worked on the project, both cast and crew. And I'm just so proud of the team that came together to make the film. It was just a dream come true, really. When you have something that's your brainchild, your baby, and it can be kind of scary to entrust it to other people, but also like to bring it to your fruition so that people can actually see what you've dreamt of and what you've thought of and all of this. It's a very vulnerable place to be, but I feel very blessed, to have been able to create it and to do it, and that we're in this part of the process that we're in. It's just kind of crazy, you know.
Well, I have a question because you're someone who you did it all on that project. Had you ever directed before that time?
So in film school, yes, but it was film school shorts and things like that. So I mean, definitely figured out all of the things that I liked to do film wise and all the things I didn't like to do so much. Which producing was one of those things, but sometimes you have to create the work, to do the work that you want, and that is kind of where finding joy came into play there. But yeah.
Well, how did you direct the scenes that you were in, or did you have someone else kind of step in at that moment, or did you direct the scene and then remember your lines all in one take?
That is a great question. So I did direct the film largely. However, when I was on camera, we had our co-director Lolo Loren come in, and she would direct me when I couldn't see myself on screen and all of that. And she was just phenomenal. And her and Patrick Poe are a couple, filmmaker couple, and they're both really great. There were some days that Lolo couldn't be there and that Patrick was there, so sometimes he would step in and do that as well. But they both wore many hats as well in the process. But Lolo was really really great director for me.
That's great. And I'm just an acquaintance with both of them. I've met them both before, but they both are so involved in the film community and so competent. I know they win awards all the time. And I wondered, Finding Joy, what are you most proud of that movie? You wrote it, you directed it, and you starred in it. Is there anything when you look back on it, you're like, the most proud I am of this movie is blank?
Oh my gosh. Well, I would say just having written a film and getting it to the point where it's like it's an actual full feature film. And I think a lot of people had didn't really understand that we were actually like we were making a full movie. Like it's a movie, you know. I think because student films, when you see student films or sometimes when you see independent films, sometimes like the story's there and the acting is there, but maybe like the audio isn't great or the visuals aren't great or vice versa. You're kind of like expecting. I think some people like go into watching an indie film like expecting that, and I feel like we have a film that is very strong all across the board. I'm not saying it's perfect. Definitely not. Definitely learned a lot about what to do, what not to do, and what I would do better next time. But I'm just proud of it as a whole, honestly, and kind of going back to the vulnerability of writing and just like putting your story out there. I would say that that's one thing. It's just I'm proud of, I guess, the bravery that must come with filmmaking. And I'm proud of all of the artists that came together and helped to tell the story because again, like Patrick Poe and Lola Loren, and we had David Watson shooting it. We had Sam Toddy, who I don't know if you know Sam, but he also makes short films and he has his production company as well. So I'm just so proud of everybody, and you know, just for believing in me. It's kind of I don't know.
No,
It's something that
I love it. I always have admired. I admire everybody in the film industry, but writers in particular. I have a fascination with someone who can come up with something from nothing. I have a question. Are you working on other scripts as well?
So I do have something that I have in my mind that I want to write next, but I haven't started actually writing it yet. I'm kind of trying to focus on projects that I am currently cast in that are coming up, but mostly, on my end, what I'm doing, just trying to get the film out there. And so, still submitting to Film Fest, but we're kind of writing the end of the Film Fest wave, I guess. Like we're just waiting for any other acceptances that we may get, and just trying to get it on a streaming platform after we've had the screening run. So
Well, I will definitely watch it. I love to watch Kansas City movies, and there are some that you can always find something where you think they should have done a double shot instead of close-ups or what. I mean, like if you once you've done it a little bit, you can. I've never been to film school. I've done over 60 projects, and so like I can watch and it's always like the things that hold movies down to me, like local things, if they're done like the if the acting is bad, if the story's not as good, the sound, the lighting, like all of those things are when they're done well, it is wonderful. I've seen some local movies that are excellent that have been done on a shoestring budget, and it's just amazing to me the people that are behind them.
yes, yes, and it's you have an appreciation for it after you've done it, and you see all the parts, because there are so many moving parts, and when you finally have an end product, and it's like, yes, there are things that maybe didn't go as planned, or like you shot and it didn't quite end up in the edit how you wanted it, but it still works, or maybe you had to cut a scene, that's something that I try to embrace is what people or I've heard referred to as killing your darlings, because it's everything that you shoot. I mean, and everything that you wrote and then shoot is so precious, and a lot of artists get so attached to what they do, and sometimes you just have to sacrifice it for the better of the movie. If it's going to make the story make more sense, or just serve the film as far as runtime, sometimes you have to do that. But honestly, like I got to a point in the edit where I was like, okay, well, I don't really need this part. I mean, it's a shame we shot that and we spent an hour doing this, but I like the scene better without it, and it was fine, and I just went on my merry way. So
Wow. So you did the edit as well, or at least the rough cut edit?
yes, I did. I did the rough cut, and then David Watson, he did the fine cut edit, and he and I have been working very closely just to get it, exactly how I want it, and at a point we had picture lock, and then did all the sound design and all of that. So it's once you're picture locked, you can't change anything because the sound designer's doing all his stuff, and that can be kind of hard too. It's like, oh, there's just this little thing, like that moment lingers a little too long because now I've seen this film like thousands of times, right? And so you just kind of have to let it go and be like, not everybody's going to notice that. You're like, I'm going to notice more than a first time viewer would notice. Probably nothing that I'm nitpicking.
Yeah. And you wrote the part with yourself in mind, the role that you took, which I imagine was named Joy.
Actually, no. So the lead character's name is Ronnie, short for Veronica. But Ronnie is a PTSD survivor, so she has had some childhood trauma, and she's actually lost her mother, whose name was Joy. And she has these memories that, like, she's basically rewritten a specific traumatic event in her life. And so she thinks one thing happened, but really another thing happened. And so her dreams kind of start to show her what actually happened. And then she also starts to have just sleep issues in general. And one of the large things of that, or one of the large elements for the film, was sleep paralysis, and that we explore. And that I have actually had firsthand experience, like for almost 2 full years of my life when I was going through a really stressful transition. And I think that that's probably part of it. But I wanted to make this film. I mean, the narrative is fictional, but the sleep paralysis segments, those are all based in true events that actually happened, like I experienced, or people close to me had experienced that shared their stories with me when I was writing it. And so yeah, so Ron, it's about Ronnie, but her mother's name is Joy, and that's our
So,
title here in it.
what role, like when you wrote that and you saw yourself in the role of Ronnie, not Joy, Ronnie. Um,
Yes.
When you wrote it and you saw yourself in the role of Ronnie, and did you write it specifically for yourself? Did you change anything in the process to make it for yourself, or it was just destined to be you?
I had written it from the beginning with myself in mind as the lead character, and um, I have invested a lot in my acting training. I'm a Meisner trained actress, and I actually it's funny because I trained out of Chicago at Gately Pool Conservatory, and our title character Joy. Tangela Welch plays Joy in our film, and Tangela also studied with Gately Pool. And she and I like our paths kind of crossed. Like I knew who she was and she knew who I was, but we didn't meet until we had a Wright Laird acting class together. And it was just one class like 10 years ago. And then when I started going to Gately Pool, she and I ended up in one of the same levels together. And it was just like very serendipitous for us to work together. And so through that process, we have worked as mother and daughter. Um, and also it just so happened, for her to take the role of Joy, um, who is Ronnie's mother. So
Yeah. And so, like, what are the best roles for you? Like, that sounds like a very dramatic role. Is that what you prefer?
I love to work in drama. I really do. It's what makes me tick. I think it's just one of those things I the reason I do it is because I want the viewer to feel something from my performance, whatever it is. I want it to be authentic and for them to either connect with it from something that they connect with in their lives or just to feel it from the scene. Um, and and yeah, so I do love working in drama. I also work a lot in horror, but I feel like there is a lot of horror in Kansas City specifically. So that just works out. I've done some comedy, but it's not my main thing. I would say that drama is probably my favorite to work in.
Well, tell me what horror you've been in. Is it short films, features? Just a little more about that.
Both. So I've worked with Patrick Ray, who I think most everybody in the film community know who he is or have worked with him. And The Night is Young is the most recent film that we've done. Um, well, I don't know if it's. I guess we didn't shoot it most recently because we also worked on a short after that. But it's been streaming recently, so it's on Tubi, it's on Amazon Prime, and it's on a lot of other horror apps specifically, and on YouTube, a couple of channels on YouTube. So if you have like Momotu, if you've got the Chilling app, you can also Google it and find all like all the places we are. But it's a fun one. It's a found footage vampire horror romance, and it's basically about so Sarah Maguire plays the lead, who's Nora, and Jake Jackson plays Jake, her brother, and she's a vlogger. So she goes on dates and he documents the dates, and so she just has this like dating vlog channel, and she goes on this date and is stood up, but my character Amelia is there, who happens to be a vampire. And so she gets mixed up with a vampire and some crazy stuff happens. And that's all I will say about that. But
That's great. And
we
what's it
are
called
gearing
again?
up. It's called The Night is Young. And we are gearing up to shoot the sequel, which is not a secret because at the end of the credits, if you watch the first one, it does say that we'll be back. So yeah, so we're gearing up for that. And then I've also worked on with Patrick, we shot The Exorcist Parabellum, which is a horror comedy. It's basically John Wick meets The Exorcist, and that's on YouTube. It's a 10-minute short. It's really crazy. Just you kind of know it's crazy going into it with that premise, but um, so I've worked on those with Patrick. Other horror stuff I've done. Um, I recently did a short. It's more of a thriller, but it also has some horror elements, and it was in the horror category in one of the film fests that we screened at. But it's called Pay No Mind by Evan Isom, and that one is about um, a composer who's recently become mute and is very reclusive, kind of like she's like totally gossed out, like just trying to keep people away. she doesn't want to be bothered, and she hears what she thinks is a murder next door in her apartment, and then she tries to like figure out what to do. Um, and so
Very,
that one is on Vimeo, I believe. So yeah,
very
that one
cool.
was a blast.
Well, how
Yeah.
did you get started in all this?
Well, I think that when I first got started was when I signed with Hoffman in 2010, and then when I went to film school and like graduated film school. Well, actually, even before I graduated, because Todd Norris, who is also very prominent in the KC film scene, he was one of my cinematography teachers. And so after um, my time at school and everything, he actually shot a short film. It was a sci-fi film, and he asked me to be a part of that. And so I feel like that was one of the first like real film things I did that was like that looks really good, and I was really proud of it. And it was just a little bit role, but I got to work with somebody who I knew it was going to look great because I learned from him. And so that was really cool. And then I think it's just networking. Once you start networking and knowing the right people and people start seeing you in things, they start to ask you to audition or offer you things. And so that was kind of how I started there.
Did you ever do any theater work?
I did one theater thing, which is actually a really cool one. I was a cannibal in Flashdance that the Coterie Theater put on, which was like, I don't even know what year that was. It was like, I feel like a decade ago. So it's been a long time. Um,
Oh, you more gravitated towards film than theater.
yes.
Yeah, I some people choose both. Jeremy Walters, he goes back and forth. He does theater and movies, theaters and movie, but it seems like, well, I guess Nicole Hall does too, but like some of the people
Mhm.
just choose one and that's, Jessica Whitfield. I guess there's a bunch of them that go back and forth that I would know of. Um, but I think there's probably a lot of people choose. I've never been in a play. I've never done
Okay.
theater. Yeah, it is
Mhm.
just the film community. And that's
Yeah.
it. Sounds like you're pretty much the film community as well.
Yeah, we're in that same boat, it sounds like. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had people tell me, like you can't just do film, especially in Kansas City, and I'm just like, watch me, you know? Yeah. But I mean, I understand what they were saying because you you need to get practice and you need to if you want to be in it all the time, you pretty much need to do both. And that is true. Um, but for me it was just my love of film and filmmaking and storytelling that just pulled me that way.
Well, tell me about the what your idea is. What are you writing now? You said you have an
So
idea.
I do have an idea. Yeah, it's but I can tell you about it. It's actually very rooted in my acting training at Gately Pool. So we studied what's called the Spoon River Anthology by Edgar Lee Masters, and that is essentially a book filled with monologues of the townspeople of Spoon River. And a lot of them are very troubled. A lot of them are kind of crazy. Some of them are maybe more normal. But there's like just a mix of a whole bunch of different townsfolk that you might encounter in the early 1900s. And essentially, so when I went to Gately Pool, my character that I studied in level 3 was Zilpha Marsh, and she is a school teacher, but she's also a medium. And she essentially, like, she gets visited by all of these spirits, and they're telling her messages to bring to the people who are in her life that she's educating. And so she's trying to get these messages to these children, but then the messages get to the parents, and the parents are like, she's crazy. What is she doing teaching you? Like, she doesn't have any business being your teacher. And so then she kind of becomes an outcast. And so that is the premise of the short story that I would like to tell. And actually, Tangela and I have been talking about co-writing something from Spoon River. And so this, I think, is an opportunity for us to write something together. Um, and she wants to write one about her character, and I want to write one about mine. And then I would also like to write one about a third character, and then we can intercut those three stories to make a full feature or make like a mini series, but they're all connected. So that
Okay.
is the
Yeah,
next thing.
the third character, you might look at maybe someone who's 56, who's got a beard. No.
I
No,
like
I'm
it. I
just
like
kidding. I'm
your
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
self
Do your thing.
marketing.
Uh, what do you
No,
want to
but it makes
accomplish by doing these films? What is the end goal?
the end goal is just to tell a great story and to honestly like just going back to what I was saying before, making people feel something. I think when I watch a movie, I want to feel at least some kind of catharsis. But if it's one that is just completely emotionally cleansing, like that, is a movie and it's gonna like be I'm gonna be thinking about it like the next day and the day after until I watch it again. That's the kind of movie that I strive to essentially eventually make. But I don't think, and that's not to say like Finding Joy. I don't think Finding Joy is necessarily one of those movies. I hope that it sticks with people, but I also am realistic in the fact that I know it's an indie flick. Like most people are probably going to watch it once and be like, oh yeah, that was all right, or that was pretty good, and move on. Maybe they'll tell somebody about it, maybe somebody else will watch it. But my end goal is to make something where it sticks with you, and maybe our story will stick with somebody. But I know that there's so much room for growth, and I'm really excited to see where this next idea can take us.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Finding Joy actually sounds fascinating to me. I'm going to think about it just from hearing the premise. I'll probably think about it tomorrow. So I think you've done that. If I would have seen the movie, probably even more so. Um,
Thank you, thank you.
what have you learned being in this business? What have you learned like that you didn't know in 2010?
Oh, that some people can be cruel about your work, like not necessarily people in the industry, but just people who watch it, and to just do you and keep going. Don't let that kind of stuff get to you. And like I'm a very sensitive person, and of course, like I know back in 2010, like yeah, people tell you like there are gonna be people who don't like your stuff. There's gonna be people who judge you and are harsh, but you don't really know it until you've experienced it in one way or another. And so I would say just yeah, learning to shut out the noise. And it can be really hard. It can be really hard. And especially with like, I know that I'm just scraping the surface, like putting my own movie out there soon. Like, seeing reviews on Letterboxd, especially, and things like that, where it's like people can be really mean. But just remembering that at the end of the day, like, there are people who connect with it and there is an audience for it. So just believing in that and keeping that positive, I think is really important.
That's beautiful. And I think there'll also be a lot of people that say positive things about your movie. I think it'll probably be, it sounds like it's going to be great. I mean, so I would love to see Finding Joy. Like I said, I've
Thank
read
you.
about it for years. I've seen posts about it off and on. I really do want to see it. Um,
That means a lot. And since you've seen posts and everything, I don't know if you follow the page, but for our listeners as well, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Finding Joy Film is our handle at Finding Joy Film. And our latest trailer is on there. So you can check us out and just kind of get the tone of our movie and what we're about. And I'm sure we're going to have another cut of this trailer at some point, once we get to distribution and everything. But right now, that's what we have.
well, good. Hey, I wish you luck on that. I am going to
Thank you.
change it up a little bit. I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you about some things here in just a moment.
All right.
All right. What is this?
Well, I talked about it already. So that is Meta, which is Todd Norris's sci-fi short. And so I played, well, actually, sorry, that's not from Meta. That's from Loda, which is also Todd Norris. So we shot that in my cinematography class. And so I was the android, and then we shot like there were like four or five different shots, but we told a story with just those shots and with no dialogue or anything, and just with like my expression and with what's happening here. So basically, it was like I am an android and I wake up, but I think I'm a human. Like I don't really know. I'm not really questioning what I am at the time, and I am like looking and I see this I'm like wandering around, and then I see this room full of carbon copies of me, and that's really the end. And so it was just kind of like it was a cinematography lesson, but I got a great little demo piece out of it, didn't
That's
I?
awesome. And those are all you, right?
That's all me. Yeah. So he shot that, and he duplicated it. I don't even know. I don't. It's been so long. I don't remember what he did, but I'm sure he did that in After Effects. So
Very cool.
yeah.
And what in the world is this?
So that is me cosplaying because I'm a nerd. Um, I think that that may have been when I was going to Worlds of Fun with my friends for Halloween one year, and I dressed up as Pikachu. But I've also been to Comic Con as Pikachu. So
Well, I looked at it at first and I thought it was a filter, and then I looked and I said, no, that really is what she looked like then. So that's great.
yeah, that's a
And
fun
this,
one. So
I know what it
that
is,
was
but tell me about it.
yeah, that's okay. So it's a very early teaser poster for Finding Joy that we did when we were doing the crowdfunding. So we needed to have some elements, some visuals to garner some interest. We had some video. I think we had maybe a little teaser video that we had shot, but that's really all we had at first. And so, but Baron and Thad of Collective Vision Media LLC, I think is their what their post production is called, or it's like Safe Harbor Productions also is their post. I think they operate under two um, production companies, but Thad came out and he shot this on location, and then Baron did all of the poster design. And Baron does a great job. I recommend hiring them if you can for your posters. They do excellent work.
Very cool. And what is this?
The one and only time I was ever a cover girl. So that I don't even I would have to look and see what year that was. I want to say it was maybe like 2014 or 2015. Um, but yeah, I got hired as a model for the Simply KC cover that year. That was fun.
That's
I got to
awesome. Have
wear
you?
those around my neck. Those are real peppers.
Oh,
It
that's funny.
was
Have
like
you done
a health harpy.
a
Yeah.
lot of modeling or just a?
I've done some. I can't tell if you're frozen. There you are. Okay. I didn't want to talk over you.
Oh,
So
sorry.
I've done some. No, it's okay. I've done some commercial modeling mostly. I've done some runway. You know, when I first started with Hoffman, I went through their training program, and I'm so glad that I did. It was awesome for personal development. And some people went through our courses just for personal development, had no interest in modeling. Like they just wanted confidence and that type of help in the real world, and it did great for them as well. But so I went through the courses, and so doing that, I definitely got a taste of all the different kinds of modeling, and I learned how to do runway walking and things like that. And I do like to do photo shoots. I prefer to do more commercial style because you are actually acting in those lifestyle shoots, and a lot of times they hire actors for to be their models because you can make a scene believable and you can just you know do that. And so I've worked a lot with Hallmark, and they do a lot of lifestyle stuff, and I've done like face papers for them. You find them in the frames in the store and stuff like that. But mostly is my thing is acting, and I try to keep that the main thing. But if somebody threw a Hallmark job at me, I wouldn't say no. So
That's interesting. I met a guy. There's a group, 916 Productions in Overland Park, and they do
okay.
really dramatic vertical shorts. And
Oh yeah.
they choose like some of the people come in from LA or from Texas or Atlanta or whatever. They bring in people from all over. And one of the guys I met there was talking about he's like on the cover of all those romance magazines and books, like the cover on the books. He said that's what he does a lot of times and makes hundreds of dollars for like an hour or two. And they have him take his shirt off and he takes a picture with a beautiful lady and they put it on the cover of the romance magazines. He said, I'm on lots of them. And I believe him. I saw the guy and I thought, yeah,
Wow.
I could see that. But yeah, that's what I just thought it was amusing. And he is
That's
primarily an actor living in LA. but he gets lots of modeling jobs as well because he's real fit and stuff. So just interesting. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I worked for him in the thing I was in. I slapped somebody. It's very dramatic stuff. So you actually might, here's your little tip of the day. You might look into them. But yeah,
Okay.
like I slapped somebody in the face who insults him. Like it's stuff like that where it's really almost like a soap opera kind of things.
Okay.
Vertical
Gotcha. Like intense
series.
moments. Yeah.
Yeah, they actually pay pretty well as well. I've been in four of their things, I think. So
Okay. And you said it's 916
yeah,
production?
916 Productions. It's me giving
Okay.
you a tip on the podcast there. There's my two
There you
cents.
go.
Couldn't hurt. But they'll bring in people from all over. They bring in directors from New York and Los Angeles and different. I mean, I didn't even know there were mansions in Kansas City until I was on their sets.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I went to some real mansions where I'm like, wow. There was one out, had an airstrip in front of it. I don't know how many acres, 50 or 100 acres, this huge house, 10,000 square feet or something. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And they had filming going on in multiple rooms because you couldn't hear because they had all these doors you could shut to make it
Oh,
private. So I was like, it was
uh-huh.
wonderful.
That's
Um,
so cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Some
Well, how do
really
you
cool
spend your spare
locations.
time? Because it sounds like you're doing a lot of stuff to keep busy. How do you spend your spare time when you're not acting or writing or modeling or directing? What do you do?
So I actually just started a job a couple weeks ago at Freeman Healthcare, which is at the hospital in Joplin, as a medical oncology unit secretary. And so most of what I do there, I mean, I'm sure I'm just scraping the surface right now. They always say it takes, like three months is like the sweet spot for the learning curve of a new job. So I'm giving myself grace, but also feel like I'm learning fast. Mostly going to be discharging patients and doing just a lot of paperwork and putting things in order, refilling the nurses' stations, making sure they have all the supplies that they need, and fielding calls, room calls to nurses and the techs, and also phone calls, that kind of stuff.
What
So
about fun things in your spare time?
fun things, yes. Um, I love to play video games and I love to travel. I have been to Japan 3 times, which is a fun fact about me, but everybody in
Wow.
my life kind of knows that
Well, I
because
saw
I'm
you in your
obsessed.
cosplay outfit. Did you wear
Yes,
it?
there. No, not that one, but I probably did at some point in one of my trips. But um, I love it's such a great country to visit if you can. I say go for the people, go for the food. If you aren't like a big anime nerd like me, maybe you will become an anime nerd when you go there because there's so much, and it's just like it's a culture shock in the best way. And honestly, it's electrifying in that it was for me life changing at the point when I first went in 2015 because well, I won't get into all that, but it was an interesting time in my life, and I just like I had always wanted to go, and I needed to get away at that point in my life, and it was kind of like in a way it kind of like saved me from a relationship that I was in and shouldn't have been in. It kind of helped me pull away a little bit, and it kind of became like a home away from home. Um, and so like anyway, I always kind of feel at home when I travel places. So I love to travel. My husband and I are actually planning a trip to New York at the end of October. So that's what we got going on. I have a dog who I love to walk and play with in all my spare time. She's either snuggling me or just trying to keep my attention, which is not hard. So
Have you
that's really
been
all I
to
can
New
do.
York before?
Not yet, but I'm very excited because they say it's Tokyo's sister city. So like, all
Ah,
right, let's
well,
go.
you
Let's
might
check it
like it.
out.
I've been to New York a couple times, and the pizza truly is just a little better there than other places, in my opinion. I like Chicago deep dish, but New York, it's pretty good. And they have them all over. You can just stop in a place and grab it and walk with it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm
It's,
definitely going to be checking out that pizza. You know
yeah.
that.
And I imagine you'll go to a Broadway play.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely look into that. I don't have any idea what's happening right now, so I need to. We're actually gonna start planning tomorrow.
Well, there's a lot of them that are good. I think I've been to three, and they've all been just outstanding.
Which
Outstanding.
ones did you see? So I
I
know.
saw The Lion King, which was beautiful, beautiful. I mean, everything was just I'm trying to think like they played drums and music as they made it like the whatever those water buffalo were stampeding and they had these things they
Mhm.
cranked that had water buffalo like they were getting closer. It was just great. We saw
That's nice.
Chicago and then I have to admit my favorite was the Book of Mormon. It was
Okay.
absolutely uh, it was incredible. And Chicago was good. The Lion King was just a beautiful production, but the one that I truly laughed out loud, like so many times, the Book of Mormon. Uh, I don't want to spoil it for you if you don't know the story, but I don't want to
Okay.
spend my
No, I'll
time
have
on
to look
my podcast
into it
telling you
then.
about plays, but basically this
I
guy
asked.
he doesn't know anything about the Mormon religion, and then he goes to um, some place where there's no Mormons, and everything he says is wrong. He like everything he says is wrong, and so the people like are describing happy days or something, like they're remembering all these lessons. It's hilarious.
Sounds great. I'll definitely look into those. I've always wanted to see Chicago, but if that's like your top one, I'll definitely be looking into some reviews.
Yeah, I would say that
We'll
one
we'll
was
totally
the
see.
bet. Like we all, it was hilarious. It's right there on Times Square, easy to find too. Um,
Okay. Great.
hey, so
Okay.
you live in the Joplin area,
I do.
but you travel to Kansas City for projects.
Yeah.
About how many projects do you think you do in a year?
Oh gosh. Well, so I'm actually from Kansas City. So like my dad lives in Lewisburg still, and so I go up there and like most of my family is in Kansas City area. So and I moved here maybe 6 years ago. So I still consider myself a Kansas City resident. I guess I technically am because I have residents that I go to, but yeah, Joplin is nice. Joplin's fine, but Kansas City is kind of where it's at, and that's where all the film stuff happens. Um, but I would say well, actually, I'll kind of to segue into your question or my answer to your question is that there is some stuff that happens in Joplin, but it's just now recently starting to happen because I've been here for 6 going on 7 years, gosh, maybe even 7 going on 8. I lose track, but I had never done a production in Joplin area until last October when I met Aaron Stockton and he is I think he's actually in Springfield, but he's a local filmmaker who is great. I mean, he's a great storyteller, and he brought David Watson on his project to shoot it, and he didn't know any actors in this area, and so David, of course, recommended me to him, and so I ended up being in his project and finally working on something. And that little film is a drama called Shadow of Guilt, and it is on YouTube if you want to check it out. I think it's like I don't know. It's like between 5 and 10 minutes, probably. Quick little watch. But so that was really great because I feel like we're starting to actually like we are kind of now make like now that David and I have made some connections with filmmakers and like John Woodard, I gotta talk about John because he's local to Joplin and he works on a big HBO show called Yanu. It's a children's animated series and he's the lead editor on that. But we're so lucky, like we have him right here, and I actually met him at a screening for Finding Joy, and he cast me in one of his films that we just wrapped here. And so uh, because I'm now working a little bit in Joplin and in Kansas City, I feel like, and also in some happens in Springfield. Between all of these areas, I would say like I mean easy a handful of projects.
Yeah.
But it gets more every year. I feel like, and there's more, as you know, that's happening now in Kansas City, with all of like the tax incentives and everything. So, um, yeah, I would have to stop and think of like how many I worked on last year, to get you an exact number, but like easy 5.
Yeah,
So
yeah, no, that's good. And like it's kind of like In some ways, it's an unfair question because, like, you could do a short film where you film one day and that counts as one. And then you
Yeah.
could do Finding Joy, which you spend a year of your life on, and that counts as one.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yes.
how do you prepare for a role?
Oh gosh. I I tend to approach it the same every time. But I guess it varies depending on what it is, or it can. But typically my process is I try not to get too into memorizing the lines. Obviously I want to know them enough so that I make the director happy and so that I know what I'm doing. I'm not worried and in my head about all of that. But I don't want them to come out um too rehearsed. And so it's almost kind of like you have to find that fine happy medium of just barely, it's like you're discovering the words as you say them because you barely know them, but you know the scene in your heart enough to where it's like this is going to guide me, and because of the moments that you find along the way, it's you're going to find your way to where the scene ends, and all those moments in between. So um I work a lot in the dramatic imagination, and that's huge with Meisner. Dramatic imagination and emotional preparation. So you just spend a lot of time, like on your own in those times. So having read the script, doing some character work, so just filling in some backstory for myself that is nowhere to be seen. I just have to do it on my own so that it helps me, and just like makes my performance more rounded. Um, and then sitting with it and maybe even building a special playlist for that project, mostly with instrumental things that I can listen to when I'm doing my emotional prep. But basically, I'm just living in moments and times of my character's past and through the script. Um, and with each emotional preparation and dramatic imagination, exercise, I don't go too much all at once because it's especially with a role that's like really dramatic where maybe some traumatizing things have happened to you or your character. Um, it can be a dangerous place to live in too long, and so it's really important knowing how to go into those exercises and how to bring yourself out of it and back into your life, but still having all of that layered work laid for you when I go to set. So I want to go in and like have all of this groundwork done, and sometimes I might like it depends on my relationship with the director. But sometimes I might reach out to them and say, hey, what do you think about this? When I'm working on something, like, am I totally off base, or is this kind of right? And what do you think? And a lot of times I've worked with so many great directors who give so much creative freedom, and I'm so grateful for that. But there have been times where I don't have that, and that's fine because everybody works differently. So I do all of that groundwork just in case. And if I get direction that's like completely different than what I've done, it's like, okay, well, I'm prepared, but I've also prepared for this because I need to take direction because I'm an actor. So I think that that's generally kind of like the roadmap of how it works.
That's wonderful. I love your approach because it's everybody does it slightly different. Some do it a lot different, but I really like your approach just because it is. I haven't heard anyone describe it quite like that. So
Okay.
that was great.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, it's interesting. Can I ask what your approach is? Because I'm always
Uh,
curious too.
my approach, well, a lot of times whenever I do it, I might be a low quality actor compared to you.
I don't think so.
Um,
I don't think
no,
so.
I read the script. I try to read like the full script. Some of these scripts, like I have one now that's 167 pages, like, and I've got two
That's a
scenes in
lot.
it. So, like for mine, I usually write down the emotions of the person. I try to write down their characteristics, and try to figure out who they are before I do it. And then I read it a variety of ways, try to figure out where the emotions land. Um, I just did an audition for something, and they said you can do three auditions. And I read the audition wasn't very long, and so when I did it, I thought about What if I do it like the way I think it should be done? What if I do it because this the lines worked for all three of these approaches? If I did it like I was drunk with power and I laughed, and actually I hate to admit it, but that's like one of my best kind of characters to be. And then I did one that was just really angry, which is also not a bad character for me. So like I did it that way and read it, but if I was doing it for them and they didn't really provide me any direction, I would probably try to practice the lines with multiple emotions. Um, and and have some sort of backstory if I don't get it on my own, write down some of their traits.
Mhm.
Sometimes I do like uh, something I'm in right now. I decided that I wasn't going to. This is what's great. Like I'm in six scenes in this thing, which is I kind of a. So it's just definitely a supporting role. I decided I wasn't going to like one of the other characters, and
Okay.
so I decided. So when I read everything, when I pictured I didn't like him, and I actually love the guy. It's Dan Fecht, Rick Daniels. He's a great guy. He's one of my favorite people when I see him. But I decided I wasn't going to like his character. And so I did everything with the emotion that he has always screwed me over and that he's always talking bad about me and he's always doing this. So I did it in a way, on the way I've done it. I've even got a nickname for him. His name is Tim. I'm going to call him Tiny Tim behind his back and stuff like, and the director's okay with it. I asked him. And so I don't know if I talked about how I'm going to prepare, but I'm talking about how I'm prepared for that role. And so every time, and what's funny is everybody's kind of bought into it as if that's what I'm supposed to be doing, but it's not written that way at all. And so, like, we even did something that said, well, we want to get one of you looking back at him mean after he walks by you and stuff. It's just funny because, you kind of create these things and sometimes it works and people like it.
Yeah, yeah, that's like such a bold character choice, but it's like the one that they loved and went with. So that's prime example. It's funny you mentioned Dan Sect, I believe, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I believe, and you can go on IMDb later. I'm actually on my phone right now, otherwise I would look it up. I think that he is in Vincent's Vow, a film that I did, a Christian feature that I was in that was shot out of Springfield that David also shot. Um, I think that he did the voice for Einstein in the DVD that he watches about Einstein talking about love. Anyway,
No,
fun
that's
fact.
great. That's great. I bring up Dan because Dan and I are friends and we have been in, I put 15, but we've been in 14 projects together.
How fun. Oh,
Yeah.
isn't that great when you just like
Well, it's
snowball
like
projects
there's
with somebody?
Robbie Lopez is a director, and I've been in maybe five or six of his things, and Eric Willis is a director, and I've been in maybe five or six of his things. And so what happens is he also is in a lot of their stuff. And so
Okay.
just randomly, and then random projects we've been in together with other people. So it works out really well. So you make a friend when you do this stuff enough. You know, um, Thomas Smith's another one that I seem to have been in a lot of things with. So I just interviewed him on the
Oh,
KC
cool.
Stars just a couple days ago. So
Oh, fun. Yeah, I'll definitely check his out. I know Thomas. I feel like we've maybe been in one project together, but maybe didn't work together, or maybe I just like auditioned for one that he was in or something. Anyway, we're
it's a
friends
small
on
world.
we're social friends.
It truly is a
That's
small world.
right.
I've not worked with
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
and but it's like I guarantee if you're still coming up to Kansas City and I'm still doing the things I do, eventually we're going to have a project together. It's inevitable
Absolutely. It's
with a lot of
inevitable.
these
Yeah.
people. So like some people I see one time and I never see them again, but others I
Yeah,
just recurring keep seeing them and keep doing things with them.
that's
Um,
great.
so you grew up in the Kansas City area. What part did you say, or just name the county?
Miami County, so
Miami County. So
Lewisburg.
you're in the Kansas
Yeah.
side then.
Yes.
Okay. So you've probably traveled all around because you said you went to the Art Institute, which
Hmm.
is in Missouri, correct? Kansas City, Missouri,
It's actually not. It's not there anymore, but it was in Lenexa, Kansas,
Lenexa.
which is
Okay.
yeah. So
So, well, the reason why I ask is if you've probably eaten barbecue in Kansas City before.
oh yeah.
Oh, what would be if someone said, I'm willing to travel anywhere in the Kansas City metro. Don't worry about how far away it is from wherever I'm at this point. What would be if you could only recommend one place? You can have a second place too. But one place, where would be your top recommendation for barbecue?
Oh, for barbecue. Um, See, like I like barbecue fine. I'm just like not a big meat eater. I do eat meat, but I'm not like crazy for barbecue. I know it's crazy because I'm from Kansas City. However, I still would say Jack Stack, because every time I've been there, it's been great. And there are two, well, there's probably more than two locations, right? There's one
There's probably five or
in,
six, actually. There's probably five or six. Just like
oh,
Gates.
okay.
Gates, Jack
Yeah,
Stack, there's five or six at least locations of both of those. So
any
which
of
one are
those.
you recommending?
Um, I so the one that we would go to with my family and also for staff lunches and dinners and stuff is the one that's like, gosh, I don't even know exactly. It's like past, it's on state line or just past state line, and
It's in
you take
Martin City.
135th Martin City. Yes,
Yeah,
thank
Martin
you.
City. I actually don't live too far from there.
Okay. Oh my gosh, thank you for saving me on that. I
Yeah,
love
no,
Martin
no, no.
City.
I was picturing you were going to say there's one in Overland Park. I don't know what street, but I'm probably pretty darn close because my daughter lives off of 95th in Overland Park. Probably
Okay.
96th or 97th in Overland Park,
Yeah.
right off of Metcalf. And
Yep.
then there's the one in Martin City. I pictured it would be one of those two.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so you talked a little bit about where we could see your work. Is there anything else that you want to add, maybe that I should have asked you, but I didn't?
Oh, you've been great with the questions. And thanks for just letting me ramble on some of these.
Hey,
I would
I love it.
say
Like you're easy to interview because you answer more than the question. So I love it. You've been fantastic.
thank you. I'm glad. Well, hopefully the listeners like it. If they don't, they won't, be like, okay, next. Um, so, gosh. Um, I guess just to plug some of my stuff again, if that's okay, just to end with. So Finding Joy, again, you can find us at Finding Joy Film, and just please follow us there because we will announce when we have distribution. I'm saying when manifest, and I mean we've been doing really good in the festival run, so I believe we'll get there. And The Night is Young also has a Facebook page. Check us out on Tubi, on Momotu, on Fossum TV, Amazon Prime, all the good ones. And the sequel is coming soon. I don't know. Maybe next year, maybe the year after. Who knows? Just a little tease there. Check out The Exorcist Parabellum on YouTube. That one is available. It came out, I think, last Halloween or the year before. It's been very popular. It's had a great response. So very proud of that one. And that's a fun one with spooky season coming up. I'm just gonna say I already put up my decorations today. So
Excellent, excellent.
everyone who's excited for that, go check out Exorcist Parabellum, get into spooky season vibes. And Pay No Mind is available on Vimeo, which is also a free streaming app. I think it's maybe like 16 minutes, somewhere around there. It's a good little short watch. And Shadow of Guilt, have to say that one again because Aaron Stockton here in Joplin's great. And David shot that. I feel like I've been in like so many things that David shot. But again, with what you were saying about your friend, just you guys always work together now. So that's how we are too. And let's see. Vincent's Vow is on Amazon Prime, which is a Christian family feature. When I tell people about it, it's like, all right, it's kind of a Hallmark family feel good one. So sit down with your partner or your family and enjoy that one. That was one of my first features and won a few awards for that one. So hopefully you like what you see.
That's
And
awesome. And I saw that
that's
you
all I
were
have to
an
say.
acting coach. How do you do that,
Oh
or
yeah.
where do you do that?
Yes, thank you. I'm happy to talk about this. So, I'm an acting coach with the Model Board in Kansas City. We're in Westport, share a building with Manica Architecture. And so that's like the area if you ever see us on 43rd. Um, and I also do virtual. So if you can't make it in person, just message me on Facebook or Instagram, or you can go on the Model Board's website and inquire there and set up an appointment. But I do hour and a half, 2 hour sessions, kind of just depending on the need. And I have several students, repeat students, who I work with a lot, who have book jobs, and I work with material, like to prepare them for their scenes with them if they like. So that's something we do, and I do. And also, um, a couple of my students I've worked with in scenes together. So we've done some scene work as well. So if you are more new or you're more green, or I mean, you're more green or you're more experienced, I kind of have a little bit of something for everyone. So please reach
That's
out to
awesome.
me.
And you said the model board, like there's an actual building there. Do they have classes there all the time?
We do have classes there, and I believe that there is a calendar on the website. And we're working on getting some on the books for this fall. So keep an eye out on there, including a self tape submission class that's coming up, because that's so huge in our industry. Like we are asked to do it every day, all the time as actors. So that's really important. And there's, photo movement classes, runway classes, kids classes, acting classes, but mostly the acting things that we offer right now, aside from what's coming up with self submission, is just one on ones with me. So
Okay,
yeah, but we
great.
have 4 coaches total. So
Wow, that's
yeah,
great. Well, hey, it was very nice to get to know you.
yeah.
I
Thanks for
thank you
having me.
for reaching out and letting me know you were interested because I think you were a great interview.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm sure we'll work together. And again, thanks for having me and chatting about film. It's like one of my favorite things to do. So, all
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
right, you too. Thanks. Bye.